All right, well, it looks like almost everyone has joined, so we'll go ahead and get things started. I'm Michael Chavez, Vice President of Marketing and Business Development here at SitePro. I'm joined by my colleagues, Dale Sanders, who is our Vice President of Product, and Campbell Gough, who is our Corporate Sales Executive. Dale and Campbell are both extremely knowledgeable about our product and how different people use it or get value out of it, so it's only fitting that they'll be leading today's webinar. This webinar will not only be valuable to those of you that are already SitePro clients, but it should be very valuable for those of you that are new to us or looking to gain some industry best practices. We'll be covering quite a bit in a short period of time, so if you felt like you didn't catch everything, don't worry. This is going to be recorded, and we'll be sending out that recorded version to everyone in the next couple of days. We're always available by phone or email as well for, some direct questions, and we'll be providing that contact information at the conclusion of the webinar today. Again, we're also going to have a 15-minute Q&A session, so please feel free to submit those questions at any point in time. All right, well, with that being said, I'm going to stop talking and hand the controls over to Dale to kick things off. Dale, take it away.
Thanks, Michael. I'm Dale Sanders. I lead the product team here at SitePro, where we are proud to be the leading provider of digital transformation solutions for oil and gas fluid life cycles. We combine cloud-based software, on-site digital enablement that together digitize the operations of diverse fluid infrastructure in the oil and gas value chain. These digital fluid management solutions empower our customers to accelerate the order-to-cash cycle, improve site safety and performance, and dramatically reduce resource burdens and operational costs across distributed sites and assets. The agenda for today is we're going to do a product overview, then we're going to do a demonstration. We're going to talk through some of the updates that we've made this year and look forward into the roadmap for the rest of the year. Then we'll do the Q&A session that Michael mentioned, and we'll wrap up. So to get started on the product, we'll talk about the on-premises product components. This is Site Control. This is the core of our operation monitoring and remote control platform. We also have Site Watch, which is motion capture and live video of key site assets. And finally, Site Ticket. This is our rugged touchscreen kiosk to capture hall ticketing information. The on-premises data is constantly synchronized with the cloud product components. We have Command Center. This is the primary component for monitoring and control of all sites and assets. We have the Ticket Center, which gives users complete control and visibility of hall ticketing in real time. Our Regulatory Center, which consolidates operational data into forms such as the P18 required for regulatory reporting. Our Administration Center, where we can manage user profiles, permissions, and alarm settings. And our IQ product component, our newest addition, that goes beyond basic reporting to business intelligence and analytics. We'll show the system view, analysis, and spider map today, and there's much more to come. The final part of the product suite is the mobile. We have the mobile browser, which runs in Chrome or Safari on mobile devices to provide key monitoring and control functionality for users in the field and on the go. We also have a Command Center app, which is currently in beta. It offers a richer feature set than the mobile browser, as well as providing a better experience in poor or no connectivity. So at this point, we're going to transition to to Campbell, who's going to walk us through a demonstration of the product.
Thank you, Dale, and good morning to everybody. As Dale said, my name is Campbell Gough, and I am over our corporate sales here at SitePro. What I want to do today is walk you through our SitePro Command Center, which is our web-based application. But before we do that and get started, I want to talk briefly about what we see as the two main advantages of the SitePro solution. Now, the first of those is our use of an IPC, and that's an industrial computer. So if If you think about it, typically in the field you see PLCs, which are programmable logic controllers. Those have been used since the 1960s. It's a pretty stagnant technology. Using the IPC instead of the PLC gives us a few big advantages. The first of which is in using this edge computing, we can do real-time data processing. So what does that mean? That's saying that the data is going to be processed by or as close as possible to the device in the field itself, by the local computer or server, rather than being transmitted to the data center, processed, and back down. So it also gives us the ability to remotely troubleshoot issues. Rather than having someone drive out to these far locations to look at a piece of equipment or respond to a notification or alarm, we're able to do that using the IPC and remotely troubleshoot many of those issues. And then it also allows for a flexible and rapid deployment of new facilities and uptime for our customers' quick growth and expansion. The result of all of this is going to give you greater uptime at the facility. The second advantage we see is our patented remote control. So no longer do you have to be on site to make changes to set points, to turn pumps on and off, etc. And the remote control is available from the command center as well as the mobile, and Dale will speak more to that here in just a bit. So getting back to our command center screen, this is the first screen we'll see, and it's going to give you a geographical view of your assets. And up here in the left is a ticker, and that's going to show all of the water that's come into your facilities today, as well as the number of alarms or notifications that are active within your facilities. Today I'm going to be using some obfuscated data. As you can see, we have some strange site names over here that correspond, I think, to some European soccer teams. But glancing quickly over here, we can quickly move our mouse over to these different facilities. And if you want, you can take a quick glance at the facility itself. And we can look at pumps, tanks, and meters. So rather than digging deep to find this information, you can quickly look at this at a glance. We can also come over onto our left-hand side over here and see summary cards of each of your facilities. And in doing so, we can scroll through and see today's volume at a facility versus yesterday, the average, and then if you have our digital ticketing system installed, you can also see the tickets. We can expand here as well to come in and look at the transactions, again, today versus yesterday, the average, and then our volume, and here you see trucked versus pipe volume. I also want to take a moment and point out a new feature that we have recently released, which is our pipeline overlays. What this provides is it's in response to the customers who before, and as you know, previously many of the facilities were standalone facilities and acted rather siloed. So now we are able to connect the dots, so to speak, in that we're creating these pipeline systems to connect the facilities, maximizing efficiencies, and thus providing your customers with a better and more cost-effective way of transporting fluids. So here we're looking at these pipeline views. You can hover over these remote take points and view meter data. And it just is allowing to show you the infrastructure in place and those that are connecting facilities and these remote take points. Now all of these volumes are going to be utilized for our meter reports and for our system balancing. And I'll talk about that more in detail as we go forward. Next, I want to direct you to where most of our customers will go is from this summary screen over here. They want to see a live layout of their data. And to do that, they would click the main dashboard, and that's going to pop up this live layout here that you're viewing. So with this, we tailor each of our sites to match the actual site layout. So even if you've never actually been on the location, you still have a good idea of how things are laid out and how they're operating. Also important to note that this is updated every minute, so you're really seeing in real time what's happening on location. Now today I'm going to be showing you this SWD facility, but we have the same ability to monitor and control production pads, tank batteries, and more. Now in the upper left corner, again, we're going to get the summary information of today over yesterday, volume. You can see in, downhole, and capacity. But now let's just take a walk through the facility itself. Along the left-hand side, we're looking at the truck lanes. Here we can see if the truck's lanes are closed. We can see if one is open, and then we can see that the lane 4 is actually closing right now. If we had a truck that was offloading here, you'll be able to see the truck hauling name as well. And then here at the top, we have piped water coming into the facility. And then we have a meter on each of these pipelines where you can see the flow and total volume coming in, as well as pressures. Now we're just going to walk down here, and now we can see this is today's total and this gathering meter for the pipelines. And here, interestingly, you can see the actuator where it's actually closing. You can see the percentage of it being closed. And then again, coming down to another gathering total and into our tankage. Now these tanks are outfitted with guided wave radars, so we can see the oil and water cut. But if we want, well, let's go in, take a look at the settings for this. So here you can see water storage tank south settings. We're looking at the max height, which is what's set where when the sensor's triggered, all the pumps and lanes that are pushing to the tank group would shut off, and then conversely looking at the minimum height, which is when the entry sensor is triggered and would shut off the pumps and lanes that are pulling from the tank group. Now I should note here that these can be remotely changed by permissioned users using our patented remote control, which Dale will talk about here in a bit. And I also want to point out the live details for the tankage. Here we can see estimated volume, total tanks, alarms, and per capacity. And looking at this oil tank, we can view tank logs. So this is going to give you a quick 30-day look at your tank logs here. And that's being, typically our customers will use this to show when oil hauls have been taken, and you can see the dip, and we can hover over to see this here. And then back into our facility, continue walking down. We're going to get into our pumps. So injection pump 1, you're able to see your pressures and your frequencies. Again, we can go into the details here. I can see any active alarms as well as my frequency, voltage, pressures. And then I can go in and look at the pump logs. Now this is used in a variety of ways. I mean, if we're looking at it here, we can select our date range. We're looking at each time that the pump has been pulsed by our sensors. You can see pressure, suction pressure, and you can also see whether the pump was in auto control or hand, and hand being if someone's at the facility and has taken it out of automated control and is manually operating the pump. We can see if there are any faults that have been detected in the drive, and if there are alarms that have been detected that would keep it from running. All of this is exportable, and as we go through this, you're going to see that most of the data we have is going to be exportable and offered to our customers. And then another way that we see a lot of the folks using this application is exporting it and looking at these operational trends. And then also I've seen them use it to send to pump manufacturers in the event of warranty issues. And this is a good point to mention that we don't delete any of the data. It's stored and archived in the cloud. So again, coming on down here to the wellhead, and now we can see our casing and our tubing pressures. So the next place that most of our customers will go to after looking at the live layout is going to be to our meter dashboard. Now the meter dashboard was created as we saw the evolution of the water industry and how it was changing around 2016, and you saw this shift of the water companies moving to a more midstream model of infrastructure. So we shifted our focus of the platform and were able to accommodate these several creative ways that these companies are building their assets for volume intake and distribution. And part of that shift in focus is the result of that is our meter dashboard here. So what you're seeing with our meter dashboard is a day-over-day pace tracker. Again, we can just mouse over to see that. And then you also get a graphical view. Now in this instance, we're just looking at individual meters. We also have the ability to create meter groups. So if you need to split your meters into organizational units, whether that's by location, direction, if you have an operational organizational unit set up specifically, then we can go in and apply these individual meters and create a meter group. So if we're looking at the individual meter, let's just come over, select one. We can see the current rate, the today's total versus yesterday, the June average, and then an average, the total, and then if there's any pressure on the line. We can also quickly click over here and view a 30-day historical analysis of this particular meter. Again, we can come in, change our date range, even change the data type or export any of this information. Can also come in and take a look at our logs. So we're seeing every time that this was pulsed, the pipeline name, company. If you had an operator that was, you can enter that in as well. Have your amount, flow rate, pressures rate. So the rate here, you can go in and in our rate section and add in rates for these individual meters and for operators. So in effect, this becomes your cash register. And again, all exportable. Next, I'd like to point out our alarms. So this is our alarm page where we're able to see all of the alarms for a particular facility. All of this, you can come in, change date range, search for specific alarm types, and by site. And in this instance, we're looking at these alarms. We have a lot of basic alarms that you can apply to each of your assets, but we also offer the ability to create logic-based alarms more specific to your individual assets. So walking through this, we have an alarm type, the date, a brief description, and the action taken, whether that's we email or text certain folks for each site that need notification of this, the updated, and then if it was resolved. And if it wasn't resolved, you'll be able to sort by that as well, so you can take care of any outstanding issues. Now, what's really interesting with this, you see this view motion capture. If you have cameras installed on our site, or on your site, excuse me, and connected to our system, you can click view motion capture, and that's going to give you motion capture images at the time that the alarm was triggered. And this is a great use for auditing alarms. We've seen it being used for theft and for many other reasons, but these are great images that you can download easily, and we can switch into different pieces of our motion capture system from here as well. So with that, I want to take you back and let's talk a minute about our digital ticketing system. So our digital ticketing system is how we're able to harvest the transaction data in the field for both water and oil ticketing. And I should note we're also expanding our digital ticketing to the chemical side to allow our customers to track when chemical inventories are dropped on site. So let's walk at a high level how the process works. So a hauler pulls into, and in this case we're going to use an SWD, but the hauler pulls into the facility, hooks up the hose, walks over to our digital ticketing system and logs in using our touchscreen HMI. Now, if the digital ticketing system's also tied into our automation and the information entered is accurate, then access is going to be granted, the valve is going to open, and then the hauler is able to unload or load. Now, in the meantime, all of that data that the hauler entered is sent up to our website, and it is made available to accounting or back office permission personnel. So long and short of this, you no longer have to keep up with paper tickets. So what we're seeing here is the transaction editor, and this is showing all of these individual tickets. Again, we can sort by source, service, destination, time, etc. Along the left-hand side, we have a lot of different basic filters where, we can sort by site, select sites, look at these quick filters and select by those. And then we also have more advanced filters so that you can get to the set of transactions that you're looking for. We also have a number of tools which allows you to create new tickets, edit individual tickets, you can adjust fluid rates, you can perform regulatory data editing en masse, and then use our group editor. All these tools are sent to maximize the efficiency of the users. One I'd like to highlight is our mini editor, and it's probably the most used tool in the transaction editor. and it's used to bulk edit tickets. So in the same amount of clicks, you can resolve 5 tickets or 500. Using our mini editor, our customers are able to keep their overhead low and then managing high volumes of tickets at the same time. If you don't want to use the mini editor, we can just come in and take a look at these individual transactions. So here we're seeing all the data that was entered in by the hauler, and this is all fields are editable. You can see we have this regulatory data here as well. And we encourage our users to clean up the regulatory data so that you have this uniform data set that's submittable to the regulatory parties. Now we can also come in and see that there is a ticket image, and we can view this ticket image. So this is the ticket that's created at the time the hauler enters in his or her information. You can see the operator, start, end time, service company, ticket number, lease, source, tank battery, etc., and a signature. At the site, we can print out a digital ticket for the hauler to take with them. And then, of course, you're going to have this piece that's sent in a PDF form. And then you can also take all of these. We can select by service company or operator, find the tickets that are go with either the service company or operator, and then you can send a large PDF of all of those tickets at once so that you're going with what the service or operating company is asking for. So we're looking at a lot of data here, and with that we know that our users want to do more with that data. So we've made it where they can export the data in SitePro to your accounting software using our customizable Excel reporting tool. So this allows you to create these reports where we can select site haulers and operators and filter down transactions by site, by pipeline, hauler, operator, ticket number, etc. Then you can come in and select how you'd like that data analyzed, how you'd like your columns to be set up, and then save these options as templates for future use, so just makes it for a quicker export into Excel. I should note too that these reports are going to be stored locally on your computer and in our cloud, which is hosted by Microsoft Azure. So there's a wealth of data that our engineers and developers have spent a great deal of time working to provide and clean and effective way to present the data to the client, and then offering the ability for them to manipulate and generate reports that are specific to their needs. And probably our most powerful reporting tool that comes out of this is our recently released multi-meter export. So in this report, we're going to see all of the meters across all facilities for an organization. You can sort by organizational units, by date ranges, customer, etc. But it's going to also show you here, if we look at the direction, the type of the meter, whether it's an input, an output meter, a pass-through, an injection, or a sales meter. We can also come in and sort the meter points based on uptime and communication status. And this is an important piece here because this allows our customers to come in, make sure that all their meters have 100% or near 100% uptime, and also sort for those meters that maybe aren't communicating as they should be. And then they can adjust any work orders that need to go out, or if we need to remotely troubleshoot a meter, it's just a quick way to see this. You can also export all of that data and push it to your third-party system, whether that's your accounting or your ERP system. I also want to show you our enhanced analysis tool. So this is just a way that you can come in and quickly create some data that's exportable without having to take everything into Excel and manipulate the data. So to do it, we can come in, quickly search for a site. In this case, I selected AFC Wimbledon, and then I can see the data type here. We have a myriad to select from. All of these are from customer feedback of what they'd like to be able to see quickly in an analytics view. So we can scroll through injection pressure, flow, wellhead, etc. Injection pressure and volume is a very popular one. If we see, we can come over here and now see our volume and the pressure. And this is used mainly for injectivity optimization. You can also look at the summary information over here. And if you'll notice, we can compare date ranges. So if you need to see year over year pressures, we can do that as well. And then the last thing I want to show you is our system view. So this is used for system balancing across all assets or organizational units. Now in this particular view, we're showing a system-wide data for the total water that's been accepted, injected, available capacity, and on-hand oil inventory. Our customers are using this for system balancing across their assets, and as I mentioned more granularly, you can balance those assets within different organizational units in the company by quickly selecting from here. You can also below see these summary cards that show day-over-day changes for each of your facilities. We can come in and select this by day, by week, or by month. And many of our customers, I've noticed, are downloading this each morning and then sending this out as the daily report to their C-suite executives, because it provides the information that's necessary, but it does so in a very clean and efficient manner that is very popular, it seems, with our C-suite execs. So I'm going to pass this back to Dale right now so that he can talk about our roadmap and some of these other features we have coming out.
All right, well, thank you, Campbell. We're going to get started here with the some product updates. But before we go into some of the updates we've made this year, I'd like to highlight our mobile browser app. And so if you log into the site on an iPad or an iPhone or Android device, you're going to see a view that looks like this. And it's going to give you a lot of the same remote control and monitoring that you get on the desktop. And when we look in here, and we can see our volumes, we can see our meters, totalizing, we can see our lanes, tanks, we can see our pumps, and we can see other sensor data such as our throttle percentages and other sensors associated with the assets. One other thing that we get with on the mobile device, we do get the camera view, and that's we looked at that on the desktop, but it's very handy to be able to see these images in real time with real-time updates up to within the last few seconds. We also show you the data consumption. A lot of these sites have low bandwidth connections, and obviously looking at these high-res images in real time takes a good bit of that bandwidth. So we're going to shut that down and close off that data usage. So that's our mobile, our mobile browser app. And we'll talk a little bit about our new Command Center app that's coming up. I'd like to take us back to Command Center to highlight a couple of things. Campbell showed you the pins and the cards over here in the navigation. We try to make this optimize the user experience so that you get the key performance indicators at a glance. If you click on a site, you're getting other key information related to the pumps, the meters, and the tanks. And then if you double click in to a pin, you're going to get the specific dashboard, for that site. I'm going to pause for a second here and talk about our feedback panel. This is a way for users to submit feedback on a particular page. This could be a lack of understanding, maybe an education request. It could be a bug fix request, or it could be an enhancement. So you can just type in your suggestion here. You can highlight a certain part of the screen if you'd like. To send along with that, you enter your email so that we know if we need to contact you for a follow-up, and hit send. And it's simple as that. I personally look at each one of these feedbacks that are submitted. Just one note, depending if you have certain firewalls or security, that may not be available. I'd like to switch over and show you our remote control capability. This is, the live layout. It's updating every, couple of seconds because we are in remote control mode. I can turn lanes on or off. I can turn these pumps on, off, auto. I can set valves to open, close, or a manual percentage. I can, our injection pumps, we can control. So pretty much we can control settings. We have a pretty full suite of remote control capabilities. We've spent the last few months completely revamping remote control from the ground up, and works best with our latest release of Site Control 6.3. So if you've had some, remote control issues in the past, we feel like we've addressed most of those, and we're hoping to get all, 100% of our users on remote control through the website or the mobile instead of TeamViewer. Moving on to Learning Center, this is our product documentation. You can get to this through our help menu. We have, all of the major categories covered here, including our release notes. They go back to our releases in 2019. We have common areas where users have had questions, like the users and permission settings. And you can click into these areas and get screenshots and product documentation that kind of walk you through the detailed steps involved in this case, managing users and permissions. So that's a very valuable resource to new users or users that are getting into a part of the system maybe they haven't worked with before. The next area that we've added this year is our system health. So it's not unusual for SaaS products like this to have maintenance windows, slowness, or limited availability for one or more of the components, be it the API, the mobile, the website. So this is going to give you all that detailed information and as far as planned maintenance, current open incidents. And the best way to get these updates is to set up your mobile phone and get text messages. That way, if the system's not behaving as expected, or if we have a planned maintenance, you're getting that straight to your phone. You don't miss any notifications. Phone's not a good option. You can subscribe via email. All right, so that's our system health page. Another, the meter report, Campbell already talked us through. That's a very valuable set of data. The analysis we already looked at. One thing I'd like to highlight on the analysis page, and you'll see this on some of the other work we're doing, there is a link. If you've worked in the quick analysis, it's a part of the product that we're going to retire, in the near future. But until users are, fully comfortable using the new analysis functionality, they do have the option to link into the quick analysis, which is, the prior version of that. And we'll, as we move forward on updating other areas of the system, we'll make that option available. Okay, so, and we did talk about in analysis the casing pressure, wellhead pressure. We talked about the injection pressure and flow. Some good information there for engineers and give you the capability to compare a current time period to a previous time period. Spider maps is another area that's kind of bundled in that SitePro IQ beta, and this gives us the ability to pull up a site and look at the data we've collected within SitePro in terms of originating locations and volumes. we've blurred out this data. You know, there's competitive information here. But if you go to the IQ menu and select spider map, you know, you can see the sources of the fluid, you know, at a glance, and there's some, you know, a wealth of information that's provided through this view. The last thing we want to highlight really in terms of 2019 updates is our site control update. This came in around March, and we completely revamped the look and feel of site control. So we have this new summary page. The color schemes has more. It makes it easier to read, and we've had some really good feedback on the changes we've made with site control. So looking forward into the rest of 2019, our roadmap includes, I'm going to talk about 6 or 7 key features we're going to be working on. One's a new report module. We're going to add additional data sets such as alarms. We're going to provide a new way to sort, filter, and export the transactions data. We're going to consolidate in like pump logs, and so we're going to, for basic operational data, try to make more of it available and easier to look at in the browser and also export that. There's also going to be an ability to, once you get a data set and a report in a format that you like, you can save that and come back to it later without having to save those options. Next up, around our haul ticketing, we're going to add driver level authentication to our kiosk. Right now, they authenticate at the service company level. We're going to add authentication, optional for individual drivers. They'll be able to enter a PIN or use a tap card to log into the driver kiosk. As part of this effort, we're going to be updating service companies. That's an area of the system that is ready for some updates and revisions. And we're also going to add image capture, so bill of lading, any documentation that needs to be captured at the driver kiosk during the unload process. We'll have the optional ability to capture those images and attach them to that particular transaction. We're also looking at organizational units for some of our larger operations, having the ability to break down the sites and views into specific organization units, be it maybe the Midland versus Pecos, Texas, Oklahoma, and levels even below those. Another new feature, and this is already in early adopter stage, so we have some customers that are using chemical management today. This is a very exciting feature where, for one, instead of doing the basic time release of chemical treatments, we can adjust that to the particular volume that's going through at that period of time. So it's real-time adjustment of the chemical concentrations. We also get the ability, like with other parts of our system, to be able to view the tank levels, how much chemical volume is there, what's the treatment rate, and see all of that in real time. It's pretty slick to watch, as the volume drops, the flow of chemical to drop and be able to see that through your web browser, or through the on-site site control. We also have an ability with chemical management when chemicals dropped off, a process very much like the haul ticketing, where the chemical driver logs in and records how much and what type of chemicals being dropped off at that time. So if you're interested, we are taking additional folks into the early adopter program. You get the chemical management at a reduced rate, and you also get to help shape the product as we make it ready for general availability. The next one's our mobile app. This is in private beta, so we've released this to a limited set of users. There's improved navigation within the app. Our mobile browser is very easy to use, but we feel like the mobile app improves even, upon that. There's new features. There's some areas, volume charts, driving directions. There's features that leverage native device capabilities that just aren't available in a browser type experience. So we're very excited about the mobile app. It should be ready for general availability, later this year, probably Q3. And then last, and I'm not going to go into it a lot, but our SitePro IQ, you're seeing some things, where we're the spider maps, the analysis, the system view. We're taking the raw data, we're transforming it into data that's more meaningful and easier to analyze, smoothing out some of the bumps and some of the gaps in the raw operational data. And this is to provide business intelligence and advanced analytics. And we feel like this is, this sort of the IQ product is going to provide a lot of very important insight into customer data, and also bundling that with data we're pulling in from regulatory bodies and publicly available data. I'd like to take a minute and talk about training. We've went through the product, and you can see it's extremely feature rich. There's a lot of capabilities there, and we've talked about the learning center, the product documentation, to help users, utilize the product to its full potential. We also offer monthly. We started this in May, and we're going to be continuing it going forward. It's instructor-led web training. There's no charge. We're having our next session early next week, and it allows the attendees to interact with the instructor through a moderated tool. It lasts about an hour, and it's just a good way, as you're dealing with turnover, new users, whether it be in the office or operation staff, good way to get them started with the product. We also offer custom instructor-led web training. This will be specific to your company. We do need some lead time for that, and there is a fee associated with it, but we'll allow attendees to interact openly with the instructor via the web or video conference. And finally, we have the instructor-led classroom training. We need about 3 weeks lead time to provide this, and then there is also a charge associated with classroom training. One of the challenges with classroom training is just cycling in the field staff, covering operations while their folks are in training, and so that's why the instructor-led web-based training has been our, the most popular method of getting users started. I want to move on to managed services. We have a remote operation center. You may have known it as SOS. It's 24/7, 365 remote asset monitoring and control. We have a command center here in Lubbock. It allows local operation staff out in the field to cover more sites, and sometimes dramatically more, 2-to-1, 4-to-1, even 8-to-1, utilization of those local operation staff operating out in Oklahoma, in Pecos, in Midland. This remote operations center also is able to cover, night shifts, weekends, holidays. Just had really good feedback from, supervisor, level of folks that, that there's a resource in the remote operations center for their frontline staff, pumpers and operators, to get in touch with when they're off the clock. We also have the ROC ticketing. This is turnkey processing of trucking tickets, including reconciliation, dispute resolution, regulatory reporting. Basically handle all of that, get it ready to load into the invoice and billing system, and as a turnkey solution. And then finally, we have the ROC administration. For our larger customers, you're going to want to do your administration in-house, managing user permissions, alarms, your other settings. Maybe some of we offer this option for those that don't have dedicated staff to do that system administration. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. We'll hand it back to Michael for pick up any of the questions that came in.
Awesome. Well, great job, Dale and Campbell both. It does look like we've got a list to get through here, so I'll start knocking them out in kind of no particular order. First question is, we have facilities in operation. Would the next step be for you to do a site survey at each of our facilities to see what we have and then determine an estimate for cost and controls? And that's a great question. The answer is yes. That's kind of our process, and Campbell can correct me if I'm wrong here or expand. But in order for us to determine, the right amount of automation that you need and not overprescribe or underprescribe, we like to do site visits. And during those site visits, we try to get a sense for what the worst pain points are, and therefore how we can solve them, and then absolutely determine a proposal and go from there. I hope that answers the question. It also segues into another question from another attendee. Please give an idea for how you charge for your services. So we typically have a one-time charge for that installation or upgrade or whatever it is for us to go out on site and get the hardware and communications and the computer all up to speed and working. After that, it's it's kind of a SaaS subscription, an ongoing annual subscription to be able to go in and use those features that Campbell and Dale just gave an overview about, either locally or remotely. So one-time fee upfront and then ongoing. Campbell, anything to expand on that?
Michael, I was just going to add that, our services, we are a turnkey provider in that we can provide you with full electrical as well as automation installation. So you're getting the same boots on the ground doing the work, which gives a better, more efficient, obviously, but a better price point for our customers.
Yep. Looks like you actually knocked out another question. One of them was, if we need electrical installations on site during the installation phase, is that something you outsource or something we need to provide? So as Campbell just clarified there, we are turnkey. We have everything from master electricians on down in-house. Okay, another question, and I think you guys might have touched on it, but maybe you can expand on it. Dale, this is probably a question for you. Can you link your data into other systems? Do you have an API?
Good question, Michael. We do have, we are working on an API. It's not quite ready for prime time, but that's something, and I neglected to mention that in the roadmap, but the API is, coming up in the next month or two. We will have that ready. We do have some, an early adopter that's utilizing that API. One of the things we're excited about is some of the work we're doing for the SitePro IQ and these transformed data sets, making those available, through the API.
Awesome. And I think you touched on this as well. Two-part question. Is ROC available to everyone? And I'll just go ahead and answer that. So it's available to SitePro clients. Obviously we have to have the automation on on site in order to provide that service. We typically also like to have the surveillance portion, so site watch enabled on site as well to allow us to provide even more value through our rock monitoring. And then the second part to that same question was, so are you saying rock ticketing is a service that I can outsource all of my ticket reconciliation to? Do you invoice as well? So yes, rock ticketing is exactly that. We handle all of the ticket reconciliation process, looking for duplicates, looking for wrong entries. We have, some in-house tools we've built to allow us to do some large volumes in that, and obviously economies of scale go to work. So we're able to do it at a very reasonable price for those that, just either contract that out or aren't able to keep up with their volumes. And then the second part of that, do we invoice? That's where we draw the line. So we package everything up and reconcile everything, clear everything up, and hand that over. We don't actually invoice your clients on your behalf. Did I answer that correctly, Dale?
Yes, sir. Right on.
All right. Here's an older one from earlier on in the webinar, but I think it got answered, but we'll ask it again. If I have an existing PLC, can it work with SitePro? Do I need to be trained or certified on an IPC to make any changes? Campbell, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. The quick answer is if you have an existing PLC, yes, we can work with that using SitePro. And then in response to, do I need to, I think you said, be trained or certified on an IPC to make changes? No, and that's really the beauty of using an IPC versus a PLC. PLC, you do have to have a trained and certified person in ladder logic programming, but using the IPC, anyone can use it, and we've made it into a user-friendly platform that allows for basic users all the way up to heavily not certified, but folks that know their way around any system really well. But to say it lightly, I can use it.
Awesome. And from the same person, is there a limit to the number of devices in the field we can connect to? What is our max?
And that goes back again to using the IPC. You don't have a limit to the number of devices that we can connect on an IPC, and that's another advantage of the IPC. As long as those devices have the right communication protocol, then we can tie those into our system.
Awesome. Here's an interesting one. Do you offer lane control to prevent fraud or theft? How does it work?
Sure. Another great question. Yes, we do offer lane control to prevent fraud or theft, and there's a couple of ways that we're able to do this. Number one is every company that is going to be hauling into your facility has a unique PIN that has to be entered upon getting to the facility. And if you have our digital ticketing system tied into automation, that PIN and the information entered after that is what gives the valve and the actuator that's on the lane control permission to open if that information is correct, thus allowing the hauler to unload. Another way we can do this is with our site watch that Michael mentioned a moment ago, but if you've got cameras at your facility, we typically install a camera where the driver enters that information, and then you're able to quickly see who is actually there entering that, and you can use that in an audit format or you can use that in real time.
Awesome. And this question is actually from a client of ours. Is there a way to share meter data between different customers in your system? If I have a client on your system and they allow us access to their meter, can you share it? Campbell
yes.
or Dale?
Short answer is yes. We're able to partition out the data in the system such that we are a permission-based system to begin with, but we can partition out data and provide client access to only their data where they're not seeing the rest of the facility or the rest of the organization's data.
Yep. I think this question was answered in the beginning. We got it a couple of times though, so I'll just go over it again. Do you guys only automate water assets? What about upstream? And so as Campbell showed a little bit of earlier, we do absolutely monitor upstream facilities as well, you know, tank batteries, production pads, that type of thing. We basically monitor every device and asset on those upstream facilities, except for pump-off controllers and kind of anything, you know, controlling the pump jack. But, you know, downhole casing and tubing pressures all within our scope. Okay, well, it looks like we're running a little bit short on time, so there's still a few questions we weren't able to get to. I'm actually going to reach out to those individuals directly. You all will get answers to those questions. Dale, if you could go forward one slide, we'll kind of give everybody some information on how to get a hold of us. So yeah, there it is. As always, you can go to our website. There's some further information on our website about our products, some videos and other resources as well. As always, you can email sales@sitepro.com for anybody interested in SitePro for the first time. But current clients, I want to make that available there. Customer success@sitepro.com. Any product related questions, send those that way. And as we touched on earlier, our 24/7 staffed ROC number is available there for any other issues. You call in and someone's available to answer that at all times. This concludes our webinar. If there's any other questions, let us know, or if you're interested in a demo to get even more specific on, you know, anything we need to show, let us know. That's also available on our website, or you can just email sales. So we really appreciate everyone's time today and look forward to seeing you guys on the next webinar. Thank you all.